Hey, Podmasters friends. I'm Paul. Today, you'll discover the best podcast in the world. Ready to learn from the greats and change your life? Let's go.
All right, so you guys sent us this interview with Lex Fridman and Donald Trump.
Oh, yeah.
And it is a beast.
Almost 3 hours.
I know.
Long.
Well, you don't have time to listen to all that,
Well,
so
yeah.
we're gonna deep dive into it for you.
Yeah.
It covers everything.
And everything.
Ukraine, UFOs.
Immigration. Yeah. Trump doesn't really hold back on his opinions about anything.
No, he does not.
We'll try to break it down,
Yeah.
make it digestible.
Yeah.
Point out the most insightful,
Yeah.
surprising.
And relevant stuff for you.
Yeah.
So first up,
Okay.
Trump talks a lot about winning.
Right.
He's obviously driven by it.
Yeah.
But he says he hates losing even more,
Yeah.
which is
It's fascinating, right?
yeah,
It's not just about succeeding.
right.
It's like,
He compares himself to golfers like Tiger Woods.
oh, wow.
Saying that they have a similar mindset.
Yeah, he talks about like
Yeah.
a deep-seated need to be on top. This sort of like primal aversion
Yeah.
to defeat.
Yeah.
And it's all tied into like how he thinks,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. A different thought process.
A different thought process. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Sets winners apart.
So
Yeah.
he doesn't sugarcoat things either.
No.
He calls politics a dirty game
Yeah.
and says you have to be willing to play rough
Got to play rough
to win.
to win. Yeah.
And he compares it to the business world,
Okay.
saying that like a total killer in business
Okay.
might crumble under the pressure of politics,
I see.
which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, it is.
Because he's saying that it takes a different skill set
Yeah.
to succeed in politics
Totally.
than it does in business.
It's not just about, making deals, being
Right.
tough.
Right.
It's about understanding people,
right.
navigating the public eye,
Yeah.
handling the constant scrutiny
Yeah.
that comes with the job.
So let's move on to the war in Ukraine. Trump says that if he were president,
Uh-huh.
he could broker a peace deal in a heartbeat.
He says that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, he blames Biden's leadership for the current situation.
Right.
And paints a pretty grim picture
Yeah.
of what could happen
If it keeps going.
if the war continues to escalate.
Right. He's pretty vague, though,
Yeah.
about the specifics of this deal.
Yeah. Like how?
But he suggests
Yeah.
that it involves leveraging America's strength
Right.
and, understanding Putin's motivation.
Right.
It's a bold claim.
Yeah.
No?
It is.
Does he really think he has the solution?
Right.
Or is this just campaign strategy?
Yeah.
It's hard to say.
Right.
Okay, so then there's the immigration issue.
Right.
No surprise. Trump takes a hard line here.
Yeah.
Advocates for deporting criminals,
Yeah.
people from mental institutions,
Mm-hmm.
and claims the border situation is way worse now
Right.
than it was during his presidency.
Yeah.
He uses some pretty strong language, saying that other countries are sending their.
Yeah. They're prisoners and mental institutions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a stark picture,
It is.
and it speaks to the fears
Yeah.
and anxieties
Of a certain segment of the population.
For sure.
Of course, no Trump interview would be complete
Right.
without talking about the 2020 election.
Got to talk about it.
He still maintains it was fraudulent,
Right.
but he says that he's focused on the future, not the past.
Mm-hmm.
He pushes for solutions like paper ballots,
Okay.
voter ID,
Mm-hmm.
and same-day voting.
Right.
He's trying to walk a fine line.
Yeah.
He wants to keep those claims
Right.
alive for his base.
Yeah.
But he also knows that he needs to broaden his appeal
To win.
to win in 2024.
Yeah.
So focusing on election integrity
Right.
could be a way to do both.
That's a good point.
Here's something you might not have expected.
Okay.
Trump is actually open to legalizing marijuana.
Oh, wow.
especially for medical use. He even talks about regulating it like alcohol.
That is surprising.
Yeah, it's a surprising stance.
Yeah.
And it suggests that he might be trying to appeal to a wider base.
For sure.
You know, a lot of states will have
Yeah.
marijuana referendums on the ballot in 2024.
Uh-huh.
So it could be a strategic move to gain votes.
Right.
He also weighs in on Joe Rogan,
Okay.
acknowledging his influence,
Yeah.
but downplaying any tension between them.
Okay.
He says that he doesn't really know Rogan well,
Yeah.
but he wouldn't rule out appearing on his podcast.
I see.
It's interesting how he handles this.
Yeah.
You know, he recognizes his reach,
Yeah.
but tries to distance himself slightly,
Right.
even calling him sort of a liberal.
Interesting.
It seems like he's trying to appeal to Rogan's audience without alienating his own base.
Makes sense.
Speaking of social media,
You okay?
Trump gives us some insight into his use of Truth Social.
All right.
He calls it his typewriter
Okay.
and admits that reposting
Sometimes gets him into more trouble
than his own word.
than his own words,
Yeah.
which is kind of funny.
It is kind of funny.
So,
This highlights how social media has become this double-edged sword.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It allows him to bypass traditional media,
Right.
control his own narrative,
For sure.
but it also exposes him to risks,
Right.
and it amplifies his more impulsive statements.
It really does.
And when it comes to Biden and Harris,
Oh, boy.
let's just say he doesn't hold back.
I
He
fix.
uses some strong language,
Like what?
calling them Marxists,
Oh, wow.
and suggesting that America is on the verge of becoming communist.
Mm.
It's classic Trump rhetoric.
It is.
You know, he's appealing to fear and anger,
Yeah.
painting a dire picture of what will happen
Right.
if he doesn't win.
Right.
It's a strategy that's worked for him before,
Yeah.
but it raises concerns about,
Yeah.
you know, the increasing
The divisiveness,
divisiveness.
polars
Yeah.
of American politics.
Yeah, for sure.
Now for something completely different.
Right.
Trump says he's willing to release more UFO footage,
Oh, really?
which is interesting
That is interesting.
because he was previously skeptical about UFOs.
Yeah.
So this openness to transparency
Uh-huh.
could be a big deal for disclosure advocates.
Yeah.
He even claims that he was pressured
Oh, wow.
not to release more footage while he was in office,
Interesting.
which just adds to the intrigue.
Yeah, it does.
And then there's the Epstein situation.
Oh, boy.
Trump suggests that the client list will likely become public
Oh.
and says that he'd have no problem releasing the information himself.
Okay.
He distances himself from Epstein,
Uh-huh.
saying that he never visited his island,
Right.
but acknowledges that a lot of big people did.
Okay.
This could be a way of deflecting attention,
Right.
but also hinting at a scandal
Right.
that could implicate powerful figures.
It could.
He also talks about how he deals with,
The constant attacks and criticism.
right, it comes with the territory.
His response,
You can't care that much.
you can't care that much.
Which is,
It's interesting.
it's a glimpse into the mindset
Oh, yeah.
of someone
Yeah.
who's constantly in the public eye,
Yeah.
facing relentless scrutiny.
Right.
It seems like he's developed a thick skin.
Yeah.
But it raises questions about
Yeah.
whether he's truly receptive to feedback
Yeah.
or willing to acknowledge his own flaws.
Right.
And in a more reflective moment,
Okay.
he even talks about death,
Uh-huh.
emphasizing the importance of religion and a moral compass.
Okay.
He believes that America is missing a lot of religion
Okay.
and that it serves as a guide for ethical behavior.
I see.
It's an interesting contrast to his
Yeah.
often combative persona.
For sure.
He seems to be suggesting that faith provides a framework
Right.
for making good decisions,
Uh-huh.
a set of principles that can guide individuals
Okay.
and society as a whole.
Okay. We've covered a lot of ground here,
We have.
but there's still more to unpack.
Yeah.
Trump had some interesting things to say
Okay.
about his time in office,
Right.
his foreign policy decisions, and his views on the U.S. economy.
Okay.
So we're going to dive into those next.
Sounds good.
We'll analyze his claims,
Yeah.
explore the nuances,
Yeah.
and help you make sense of what it all means.
Awesome. So picking up where we left off, Trump spends a good chunk of the interview talking about his accomplishments as president.
Yeah.
He repeatedly claims that he rebuilt the military, defeated ISIS, and presided over the greatest economy in the history of the world.
Classic Trump.
Yeah. Loves to tout his successes.
Right, but it's important to look at the nuances.
Right.
and the context behind these claims.
For sure.
For example, while the U.S. economy did perform well during his presidency,
Yeah.
many economists attribute that to factors that were already in motion before he took office.
Exactly.
And when it comes to foreign policy, he paints this picture of himself as a master negotiator,
Yeah.
a strong leader who commanded respect on the world stage.
Right.
He boasts about his dealings with leaders like Putin and Kim Jong-un,
Oh, yeah.
claiming that he was able to achieve things that no other president could.
Uh,
He even compares his approach to negotiating with foreign leaders
okay.
to dealing with the Taliban,
Oh, wow.
suggesting that strength and a willingness to use force are the most effective tools in international relations.
That's a very particular worldview.
It is.
And it's one that's been criticized by those who believe in a more diplomatic approach.
Right.
Remember, his negotiations with the Taliban
Yeah.
ultimately led to the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan,
Right.
which was widely seen as chaotic and damaging to America's image abroad.
Yeah, he spends a lot of time criticizing the Biden administration's handling of foreign policy,
I bet.
particularly the war in Ukraine.
Uh-huh.
He claims that Biden is weak and indecisive,
Yeah.
and that he's emboldened America's enemies.
So it's all part of his broader strategy
Right.
of painting this picture of America in decline,
Right.
a country that has lost its way under the current leadership.
Right.
He wants to present himself as the only one who can restore America's strength and prestige on the world stage.
And he doesn't just target Biden.
Right.
He also goes after Kamala Harris,
Of course.
calling her a Marxist and claiming that her policies are leading America down the path to socialism.
Classic Trump.
Again, this is very strong language.
It is.
It's designed to evoke fear and anxiety among his supporters.
For sure.
You know, he's trying to tap into a deep-seated distrust of the left
Right.
and paint a picture of a future
Yeah.
where America's freedoms and values are under threat.
Yeah, he even goes so far as to say that if he doesn't win in 2024,
Right.
the U.S. will become a communist country.
Which is a pretty extreme claim,
It is.
even for Trump.
Yeah, and it's important to note that this kind of rhetoric can be very dangerous.
Right.
You know, it contributes to polarization and division, makes it harder to have constructive conversations about the real challenges facing the country.
It's also worth noting that he offers very few concrete policy proposals in the interview.
Yeah.
He focuses more on attacking his opponents and painting a broad brush picture of his vision for America.
Right. That's a common tactic for populist leaders.
Right.
They appeal to emotion and grievance rather than getting bogged down in the details of policy.
Right.
It's a way of connecting with voters on a visceral level and creating a sense of shared identity.
He does, however, spend some time talking about social media,
Right.
particularly his own platform,
Truth Social.
Truth Social.
Yeah.
He boasts about its success and claims it's a powerful tool for bypassing the fake news media.
Of course.
This is a key part of his strategy for controlling the narrative and communicating directly with his base.
Right. He sees traditional media as hostile and biased.
Right.
So he's created his own platform where he can control the message and reach his supporters without any filters.
And he admits that he sometimes regrets things he's posted,
It's
especially reposts,
Yeah.
which can get him into trouble.
Right. It highlights the dangers of social media.
Yeah.
Especially for someone as impulsive and outspoken as Trump.
Yeah.
It's easy to spread misinformation or make inflammatory statements without thinking through the consequences.
And speaking of controversial statements,
Oh, boy.
he also touches on the Epstein case,
Uh-huh.
suggesting that the client list will likely become public.
Oh, wow.
He claims he has no problem with that,
Okay.
and even implies that he might release the information himself,
Interesting.
which is a potentially explosive claim,
It is.
and it's hard to know what to make of it.
Yeah.
Is he just trying to stir up controversy?
Right.
Does he genuinely believe that releasing this information is in the public interest?
Right.
Or is he trying to deflect attention from his own connections to Epstein?
Hard to say.
It's a reminder that Trump is a master of manipulating the media and creating headlines.
He is.
He knows how to keep people talking.
Yeah.
Even if it means courting controversy and making unsubstantiated claims.
That's true.
And that's what makes this interview so fascinating.
It is.
It's a glimpse into the mind of a man who is both deeply flawed and undeniably charismatic.
Yeah.
A man who is capable of great things and great harm.
That's a good way to put it.
It's a reminder that the stakes are incredibly high in 2024.
They are.
The outcome of the election will have a profound impact on the direction of the country.
Yeah.
And Trump's interview gives us a lot to think about as we head into this crucial election year.
For sure. Now, there are a few more threads from this interview that we want to pull on,
Okay.
particularly his thoughts on religion and morality,
Okay.
and what those might reveal about his decision-making process.
You know, it's interesting how Trump brings up religion throughout this interview.
Yeah.
He talks about how America needs more of it,
Right.
how it provides guardrails for moral behavior. It's not something you'd necessarily expect to hear from him.
Given his
History, yeah.
complicated history.
Yeah, it's a bit of a paradox.
It is.
You know, he positions himself as this tough-talking, no-nonsense businessman.
Right.
But then he talks about the importance of faith and morality.
It makes you wonder how those two sides of him coexist.
Yeah.
You know, how they inform his decision-making.
He seems to be wrestling with this idea of a higher power, a sense of accountability beyond himself. At one point, he even talks about a friend of his, this successful guy in his 80s, who's constantly thinking about death and the ticking clock.
It's a reminder that even someone like Trump, who projects this image of invincibility, is still grappling with these fundamental human questions about life, death, and purpose.
Makes his emphasis on religion all the more intriguing.
Yeah. Is it a genuine belief system that guides him?
Right.
Or is it a tool, a way of connecting with voters who share those values?
It's hard to say for sure.
It is.
But it's definitely a layer of complexity that adds to the overall picture of Trump that emerges from this interview.
It speaks to the broader themes, I think.
Yeah.
You know, the idea of Trump as this complicated, contradictory figure.
He can be charming.
Yeah.
He can be cruel.
Visionary.
Vindictive.
Master
manipulator.
Yeah.
But also capable of genuine emotion and introspection.
It's what makes him so fascinating.
Yeah.
And polarizing.
You can love him, you can hate him.
Right.
You can be completely perplexed by him.
But you can't deny that he's a force to be reckoned with.
And that's what makes this interview so valuable.
Right.
Gives us a glimpse into his mindset, his motivations, his strategies for regaining power.
Whether you agree with him or not,
it's
important to understand where he's coming from.
For sure.
And what he represents.
Because like it or not, Trump is a major player in American politics.
He is. And his influence is likely to be felt for years to come.
This interview is a reminder that the stakes are incredibly high in 2024.
They are.
And the choices we make as voters will have a profound impact on the direction of the country.
As we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I keep coming back to the same question.
Okay.
What does a potential second Trump presidency mean for the future of America?
That's the question.
It's a question that each of us needs to grapple with.
Yeah.
You know, consider the implications for our own lives,
Right.
for our communities,
Yeah.
for the world as a whole.
And as you continue to ponder that question,
Yeah.
we encourage you to keep an open mind.
Absolutely.
Seek out diverse perspectives.
Yeah.
Engage in thoughtful and informed conversations about the challenges facing our country.
Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
that's what democracy is all about.
It
It's
is.
about listening to each other.
Even when we disagree,
Yeah.
working together to build a better future.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah.
We hope it's given you some food for thought.
Yeah.
Maybe even spark some interesting conversations.
Absolutely.
Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.
And that's it for now, Podmasters friends. Thanks for joining us in this episode full of learning. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Stay tuned for the next episode. We have more secrets that can change your life. See you soon.